Hey, everyone. My name's Jayant, and today I'm going to talk about Pyth Network. It's an oracle that we've been developing on the Solana blockchain. So Pyth Network has been live in mainnet for about a year, and we've seen great progress on the project so far. So what I want to do with this talk is spend a little bit of time talking about what we've built, our progress, and also some of the future directions that we're working on. So what is Pyth Network? Pyth Network is a high-frequency price oracle that publishes high-frequency price updates to the Solana blockchain sourced from a network of top-tier market makers, exchanges, and other data providers. So there's kind of two parts to that definition, and I'm going to go through them sequentially. So what do I mean by high-frequency price feeds? Well, this is a graph of the Pyth Network Bitcoin US dollar price feed for a period of about an hour from a couple of days ago. And as you can see here, this is a really high-resolution time series. There's lots of price updates within that hour. So this is an example of the kind of data quality that you can expect from the Pyth Network. It's a low-latency, high-frequency price series. And what's exciting about these prices is that they're sourced from a collection of data providers, which includes some of the biggest market makers, exchanges, trading firms in the world. So these are big names that you've probably heard of, like Jane Street, Binance, FTX. All of these data providers have worked with the Pyth Network to publish data directly onto the blockchain that DeFi applications can then read and consume. And so this is what Pyth is. But you might ask, why have we chosen to build Pyth Network in this way? And there's really two reasons why we're building Pyth as an oracle in this fashion. First, DeFi applications need data in order to function properly. If you're building a lending protocol or most other kinds of protocols, you need a source of real-time pricing in order for the protocol to work. But as traders, we understand that the quality of the data matters. You can't just plug any data into your application and expect it to work, right? You need accurate data. You need low latency data. So in order to get that information, the best way to do it is to work directly with the people who produce that information. These are the exchanges, the market makers, and the traders. And that's what we're doing at Pyth Network. The second reason is access. So our data providers have access to information that isn't generally available to the public. One example of this is that the Pyth Network publishes real-time prices for US equities. Now, this is not data that you can get for free on the internet, right? These prices are delayed, and you have to pay licensing fees in order to get it. But our data providers have access to this information and can publish it to Pyth because of who they are. Another example of this is that Pyth Network can source kind of metadata for the prices that other people can't. Right now, we publish a confidence interval, which kind of represents the degree of uncertainty in a price. And we get this directly from the traders and market makers who are able to kind of estimate this quantity by looking at different exchanges and kind of combining that information. So this is the two reasons why we're building Pyth in this way. And as I said, we're live on mainnet, and we've had great progress over the past year. And I just want to go over some of those stats. So the first is that we've had great progress in these publishers or data providers. So we started with about 30. We've grown to about 77. We've recently added some really big names, like Binance just agreed to publish data to the network, SIBO, which is a really big traditional finance institution. So we're really excited to see the network grow with these data providers. The second is the number of data feeds has been gradually growing. We source data for crypto assets, equities, metals, foreign exchange, and we really hope to see this number grow to thousands over the next few years. And finally, we've seen a lot of usage on Solana. So actually, some of the biggest protocols on Solana, the biggest DeFi applications use Pyth Network. These are applications like Solend, things that you've probably used if you've used Solana. You're working on Pyth Network prices. So it's really great to see this kind of progress. And actually, one new thing that we've just launched is we've launched cross-chain prices from Pyth Network. So what we've done is we're sending Pyth Network data through Wormhole, the cross-chain messaging protocol, to other blockchains. So this makes the great Pyth Network data that you're used to on Solana available on lots of other chains. So we're on about 10 other blockchains so far, and more of these will be coming soon. So that's kind of a survey of what we've built with Pyth Network thus far. And I want to spend a few minutes talking about kind of future directions for the project. So we're thinking about a couple different ways that this project can evolve. And the first one that we've been thinking a lot about is incentives. So right now, we have a system where data providers kind of publish prices to the blockchain, and it gets aggregated on-chain, and then it's shared where people can use it. And this system doesn't really have an incentive for the data providers to continue to publish this data. And if we want to attract these really high-quality data providers, they need to be able to earn revenue or something from this process. So what we are thinking about is kind of building on additional mechanisms that allow the data providers to earn some fee revenue for publishing. I'll share one of the ideas that we have for this right now. I'm not going to be able to talk about it in detail, but if you're interested, you can read the Pyth network white paper, which talks about this in much more detail than I can today. But our idea is that we're going to have a set of delegators who are going to stake tokens behind the sort of accuracy of the individual data providers. And the tokens will get slashed in case the data providers are incorrect, and they will be given to consumers who pay fees to the network. And the fees that the consumers pay to the network will be split amongst both the delegators and the publishers. So this is a way to kind of reward the publishers for their data, and also give the consumers some protection in case there's ever a problem with their oracle. So this is one of the directions that we're exploring. This is something that we're trying to build over the next few months or years. Another direction that we've been thinking a lot about is other information that we can publish with our price feeds that will be useful to protocols and builders. And I'm going to talk about one of those directions today. I think there's lots of ways we can go with this. But this one is actually kind of inspired by an observation or a couple incidents that we noticed where lending protocols would have these problems where someone would come in with like a really big position. They'd come in with 100,000 Bitcoin, and they'd start borrowing money against it. And then when that position was about to get liquidated, there'd be a problem because the liquidator wouldn't be able to sell 100,000 Bitcoin for whatever the protocol thought it was worth, right? You can value one Bitcoin as like 1 times the price of 20,000, that's fine. But you can't value 100,000 Bitcoin using that same formula because there's price impact, right? Once you start selling the Bitcoin, the price will go down. And so we looked at these incidents, actually multiple of them happened in the past year, and we realized that these protocols they can't do anything better because the oracle doesn't provide enough information for them to actually protect against this problem. Right? The oracle needs to additionally provide some estimate of like market liquidity or market depth that the protocol can use to kind of discount the value of these big positions. So we've written a blog post about this, and we're thinking about kind of ways that we can start sourcing this kind of liquidity information and publishing it on chain. And this is again going to tap into that network of data providers that we have to be able to source this information. I said, this is like one example of this kind of thing. I think there are other ways that we can go with this. Like, I had a conversation with someone yesterday where we were talking about how to provide additional data for people to kind of set the spreads on their AMMs, right, around the oracle price. So that's like another example of this kind of metadata that Pyth Network is working on sourcing and publishing along with its data feeds. So these are just kind of 2 of the directions that we're looking at exploring in the next few months. OK, so this is a very short talk, so I'm done here. So basically, I've told you about Pyth Network. It's an oracle that publishes high-frequency prices to the blockchain. We've seen a lot of great progress this year. You can see some of the statistics of our network here, some of our consumers, a lot of media stuff. And I've told you some of the stuff we're working on. So that's it. Thanks a lot.